Hi everyone. I figured out that it was time to do another video in continuation with the last one where I introduced Amaya. This one is more on hope and life after her and how I'm navigating through my life. It's been 6 months and life has completely changed, but evolving, learning how I move forward with my grief and not move on. One major thing which I've learned is that the only way to move out of grief is to go through it, to feel the pain. I will tell you what all has worked for me and what I am experiencing, but then everybody has unique experience and a unique journey. Losing a child at early on in pregnancy or at any stage of life is the most heartbreaking and gut-wrenching grief one can have, and no one should ever experience this ever. But what has worked for me to move forward with this grief is to feel it, to acknowledge it that this has happened with me. I did not blame it on anything or anyone. I did not say that it will be right the next time. I just felt my missing and longing arms for my daughter, and I cried and cried. Crying is also a natural mechanism to release endorphins from your body. It just lets you take things off you. Crying is not bad. It's not a sign that you are weak. I did not shy away from crying in front of people or otherwise. It's difficult for men to do so, and I've always encouraged John to share and cry. In that way, your body just releases the endorphins, and then the body goes into a numb state, which is really helpful. So that's something which has worked for both of us, crying and just letting go. I'm blessed to have people in my life with whom I can talk and they will listen to me without judging me. And they are my family and friends, near or far. But if you do not have close people, close contacts, or trustworthy people in life, then seeking professional help is a viable option to do. Even I have sessions with a counselor from SIDS and Kids SA, Jaylene, as I mentioned in my previous video, and that is still been going on, and that's really helpful. Asking for help is half the job done, and not shying away from it is half the job done. I will also be seeking some sessions from a psychology clinic to just strategize my thoughts and give me some professional and practical tips on how to manage my grief triggers and anxiety. Another thing which I learned is what happens to us is not our choice, especially devastating incidents like this. But how we choose to respond to it is all in our control. Stress is self-created by how we respond to change in our life. Other things which I do is I'm regular at exercising. It's very difficult and hard to pull yourself back up after such an incident has happened. But as soon as I got a green light from the medical team, I started walking and then I slowly moved into the gym. John also has some beautiful strategies to manage grief, and he suggested that we learn a new skill. So both of us signed up for swimming, and we are learning a new language together as well. Learning something new opens up new and different parts of the brain. And that 1 hour of swimming for me is like meditation. I'm all the time thinking of how not to drown in this pool and have no other thoughts in my brain. Reading has been my area of interest for long, and I have read so many books in recently on pregnancy loss, stillbirth stories, life after stillbirth, resilience stories. and whatnot. But the one book which stood up for me is Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I'm not sure how I stumbled across this book. I was just doing a Google search and I found this book. Nobody recommended me to read it. I just found it myself. And then I got to know it has been millions of copies have been sold across the world, and it has been translated into 33 different languages. And I really recommend everyone, now, whether or not something has happened in your life or not, but everyone to read this book. It is really good book to read at some point in time in your life. Gratitude and counting our blessings sound really absurd when a tragedy hits us. And I felt the same. How can I look beyond what has happened to me? How can I look beyond the loss of my daughter to see the good things in life? But with time, I realized that I have a lot of things to be grateful and thankful for. I used to write a gratitude journal when I was pregnant, and I stopped writing in it. But with time, I realized that if I expressed and felt thankful for at least one thing which happened every day, it really brings a positive outlook to life. Journaling helps me as well, and I have this inherited interest to journal and write my thoughts. So I write my thoughts, I write letters, I'm writing a poem, which is really helping me in my grief journey. In the very early days, some people who tried to console me really broke me more. Some comments made me believe that what has happened was my mistake, or if I would have done things differently or led my life differently, this would not have happened. Or if it's God's way to make me realize that I need to change. Such comments really leave a scar which can never be repaired. But for my own mental health and working on myself with my counselor, I learned that events in life are just meant to happen. They are not a result of what one does or how one lives. What we need to do is just move positively and do our part. Rest is destined to happen. This is a major realization, and having faith helps us to lead forward. If we do not put effort, nothing will happen. But even if we put 100% effort and things do not happen the way we want them to happen, we have no other choice than to accept it and do our part. It doesn't mean that one has to change the course of life. It just means that one has to get up, move ahead, even if we hit the rock bottom. Grief comes in parts, and it's always there. It never lessens with time, it changes with time. Learning that each day is different. Sometimes I go for days without crying and living a normal life and attending parties and gatherings, which also ensures the people around me that I'm doing okay. And being a social person myself, I love to do that. But sometimes it all just comes crashing down on me, and there could be other people who are victims of my emotions. Not everyone has the acumen to acknowledge my grief in the way I expect them to be. And that is tarnishing, that could be tarnishing to relations. So I'm constantly working on my expectations from people, my inner and outer circle, and people I associate with. No one is bad. It's just the mental frequency which has to match with the people who are closest in the most difficult times. Joining back work full time has really helped me getting back into routine. But the time off I got from my organization was very important as well. I did not realize it at that time that the 4 months I got was so important for me to heal and explore myself. Now, not everyone want and can get that time off, and even for me initially I thought it was too long for me to just sit and do nothing, like no child to nurse, no work to do. But then I started investing my time in reading and finding out about organizations who work for baby loss, asking for to volunteer for my time, and that really helped me. I I have so much of gratitude for my people at work, my boss, my management, who made my transition back to work so smooth. I think I've spoken about how I am dealing with my grief of missing Amaya every single day, but still moving on. I'm moving on with hope and faith for the future, but living in the present where everything is all right, and I'm dealing with one moment at a time. There are a few things which we are still dealing with, and I'll talk about them in some other time. But as I said, dealing with them as they come and living in the moment. I really love when people talk about Amaya and take her name and mention her to us. Like any other child, she is our daughter, um, but sadly not physically present with us. So when people take her name, it makes us realize that they acknowledge that she is our daughter and not just a tragic incident which has happened with us. I have written a poem for Amaya, which I've put at the end of the video, so do have a read. And thanks for watching, thanks for listening to my story, my journey. Thank you, and thanks to all of you for being there. Stay blessed.